You know that feeling? Like you're running as fast as you can, but somehow you're stuck in the same place. Or like the days are flying by, and no matter how hard you try, you're not growing the way you hoped. Yeah, I've been there too. It's frustrating, right? I want to share with you 9 lessons that completely shifted how I see life. And honestly, these might just be the perspective change you've been looking for. So stick with me, because this could be the start of something powerful. People always say youth is the time to explore, to try new things, to figure yourself out. And yeah, that's true. But here's the part no one talks about. Youth is also when you start planting the seeds for the life you want later. The choices you make now, they're shaping your future, whether you realize it or not. What I'm about to share with you might seem simple at first. But trust me, these are the foundational lessons, the kind of stuff that if you start applying today, can completely change the trajectory of your life. So, stick around. This isn't just a list of ideas, it's a practical guide to becoming the best version of yourself. Oh, and real quick, if you're enjoying this so far, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us reach more people who need this message. And hey, if you want to take it a step further, consider becoming a member. Your support helps us keep creating this kind of content for you. Also, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one takeaway from this video that really resonated with you? Let's keep the conversation going down below. Hey, let me ask you something. Have you ever thought about how much time you spend scrolling on your phone every day? I mean, really thought about it. What if you used even half of that time to, I don't know, level up your mind instead? That's what I mean by investing in yourself. Those weeds, yeah, they're all the distractions, the negativity, the wasted time. But when you plant good seeds, like learning something new or surrounding yourself with inspiring people, you start to grow a freaking forest of possibilities. And you know what's wild? Neuroscience backs this up. There's something called neuroplasticity. Fancy word, right? But all it really means is that your brain is always changing. Every single day, it rewires itself based on what you do, what you think about, and who you spend time with. Crazy, huh? So if you're reading, learning, or even just having deep conversations with people who push you to grow, guess what? You're literally reshaping your brain. Now, let's throw in a little Buddhist wisdom here, because they nailed this idea centuries ago. Buddhists have this concept of right effort. It's basically about focusing your energy on things that truly matter, like personal growth or compassion. They say that every action you take either leads you closer to enlightenment or further away from it. And you don't need to be sitting in a monastery to get this. It's about choosing every day to water the seeds of wisdom and kindness in your life. Let me give you an example. Real talk. Imagine you're spending an hour binge-watching random videos online. Harmless, right? But then think about how that same hour could have been used to read one chapter of a book, practice meditation, or learn something you've always wanted to, like playing an instrument or starting a side hustle. It's not about being perfect, okay? It's about small intentional changes that add up over time. And here's a little secret from neuroscience. When you learn new things, your brain releases dopamine, that feel-good chemical. It's like a reward system that motivates you to keep going. So yeah, investing in yourself doesn't just make you smarter or more skilled, it actually makes you happier. I know it might sound a bit overwhelming, like, okay, but where do I even start? Start small. Seriously. Pick one thing. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a book every day, or spending 10 minutes journaling about what you're grateful for. Even that tiny effort, it's enough to start rewiring your brain for growth and positivity. So, what seed are you planting today? Just think about it for a second. It doesn't have to be something huge. But whatever you choose, make sure it's something that helps you become the person you want to be. Because, trust me, you are the best investment you'll ever make. All right, let's get real for a second. Nobody likes to fail. It's uncomfortable, frustrating, and sometimes it makes you feel like giving up. But let me tell you something. Failure is not the end. It's actually the beginning of some of your biggest breakthroughs. Here's the thing, your brain. It's wired to learn from mistakes. Seriously, this is pure neuroscience. Every time you mess up and reflect on what went wrong, your brain creates new neural connections. It's like your mind is saying, okay, I won't do that again. Let's try something different next time. It's what scientists call error-based learning. So in a way, failure is like a teacher, a pretty tough one, yeah, but a teacher nonetheless. And here's where Buddhism slides in with some deep wisdom. They have this idea called impermanence, which basically means nothing lasts forever. Not your successes, not your failures. So when you fall flat on your face, guess what? That moment isn't permanent, it's just a step in the process. Buddhists say that suffering often comes from clinging too tightly to an outcome. But if you accept the flow of life, ups and downs, you start to see failure as part of your journey, not the end of it. Let me tell you a quick story. There's this Japanese proverb that goes, fall 7 times, stand up 8. That's resilience, right? But what's really powerful here is the mindset behind it. Every time you get back up, you're not just bouncing back, you're stronger because of what you learned in the fall. And hey, let's not forget about self-compassion, okay? This one's huge. Neuroscience shows that beating yourself up after failing activates your brain's stress response. You're literally making it harder for yourself to recover. But when you approach failure with kindness, like, all right, I messed up, but I'll do better next time, you activate the parts of your brain linked to problem solving and resilience. Crazy, huh? Like, take risks, try new things, step out of your comfort zone, because every time you do, you're giving yourself a chance to grow. And if it doesn't work out, no problem. Just dust yourself off, learn the lesson, and keep moving. So, yeah, failure isn't the end of your story. It's just a plot twist. And you're the one writing the next chapter. You know that person who's always the smartest in the room, or the one who seems naturally good at everything. Yeah, it's easy to think they've got it all figured out, but let me drop some truth here. Talent isn't enough. If you want to grow, succeed, or reach any goal, hard work will take you places that talent alone never could. Let me explain it like this. Your brain is a muscle. Well, okay, not literally, but it works like one. And just like your biceps or abs, if you're working on those, it gets stronger with effort. This is where neuroscience comes in. There's a concept called myelination. Every time you practice a skill or push yourself, your brain strengthens the pathways that make that action easier and faster next time. It's like your brain saying, oh, we're doing this again? Cool, let's get better at it. And yeah, it's not glamorous, but it's powerful. Now let's get practical for a second. Imagine you're trying to learn something new, like playing the guitar or starting a business. At first it's hard, right? Your fingers don't move fast enough, or you feel like you have no idea what you're doing. That's normal. Your brain is literally building new connections, and that takes time. But here's the kicker. If you show up every day, even for just 20 or 30 minutes, you'll see progress. And science totally backs this up. There's something called the 10,000-hour rule. You might have heard of it. It's the idea that becoming world-class at anything takes about 10,000 hours of practice. But here's the part people miss. It's not just about logging hours. It's about showing up intentionally. Practicing the hard stuff, the uncomfortable stuff. That's where the magic happens. Here's another gem from Buddhism. They talk about how persistence transforms character. Think about it. When you commit to working hard, even when it's tough, you're not just getting better at the task. You're becoming more patient, disciplined, and resilient. Those qualities, they're priceless. Let me ask you something. Do you know what separates people who succeed from those who don't? It's not luck. It's not talent. It's consistency. Showing up, grinding, putting in the effort, even on the days when you really don't feel like it. So here's your challenge. Whatever you're working on, commit to it. Not for a week, not for a month. Make it part of your life. And when you feel like giving up, remind yourself, every rep, every lesson, every small step is a brick in the foundation of your future. Hard work, it's not easy, but it's worth it. And guess what? You've got this. Let me ask you something. How often do you focus on everything you still haven't achieved? You know, that voice in your head that goes, "You're not there yet," or "It's taking too long." Yeah, we've all been there. But here's a little secret. The key to staying motivated isn't about waiting for the big win. It's about celebrating the small ones along the way. Think of your goals like climbing a mountain. If you're always staring at the peak, it's going to feel impossibly far. But if you stop to notice the view every now and then, it's like, whoa, look how far I've already come. That's what small wins do. They remind you that you're making progress, even if it's just one step at a time. And guess what? Your brain loves this approach. There's this chemical called dopamine. It's like a little happiness boost your brain gives you when you accomplish something, no matter how small. Checking a task off your to-do list? Dopamine. Hitting a new milestone, even if it's tiny? More dopamine. And that rush? It motivates you to keep going. It's like your brain's way of saying, "Hey, good job, let's do that again." It's not about rushing to achieve everything. It's about appreciating the process and recognizing that every effort, no matter how small, is meaningful. Let's make it practical. Say your goal is to save money. Instead of stressing about hitting the full amount, celebrate each $10, $50, or $100 you manage to save. Or maybe you're learning a new skill. Don't wait until you're a pro to feel proud. Celebrate the first time you get it almost right. Those little wins, they're fuel. Here's a trick. Break your big goals into smaller chunks. If you want to run a marathon, focus on running your first mile. If you're working on a big project, celebrate finishing one section. And don't just blow past these moments. Pause for a second, acknowledge what you've done, and maybe even reward yourself. It could be something simple, like treating yourself to a nice coffee, or just saying, "Hey, I did that." So here's my challenge for you. What's one small win you can celebrate today? It could be anything. Getting out of bed a little earlier, finishing that task you've been avoiding, or even just showing up for yourself in some small way. Whatever it is, take a second to recognize it, because when you learn to celebrate the small steps, the big ones start feeling a whole lot closer. And trust me, you're doing better than you think. Keep going. Okay, let's be honest. How many times have you wanted to quit something because it felt too hard? Or like no matter what you do, you're just not getting the results you want? Yeah, same here. But let me tell you something. Perseverance is the ultimate game changer. It's not about being the smartest, the fastest, or even the most talented. It's about refusing to give up. Think about it. Every single success story you've ever heard has one thing in common. They didn't stop. Whether it's a business leader, a musician, or even your favorite athlete, they all went through moments of doubt, failure, and frustration. But instead of walking away, they kept showing up. That's the difference. And here's where neuroscience gets fascinating. When you stick with something, even when it's hard, your brain starts to develop resilience. There's a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. Basically, the part that helps with decision-making and focus. Every time you push through a challenge, you're strengthening that part of your brain, making it easier to face future obstacles. So, yeah, perseverance is literally building mental toughness. Now, Buddhism? Oh, they're all about this idea. They call it effortful persistence. The practice of continuing to work toward your goals with patience and determination, even when the results aren't immediate. Buddhists believe that the path to enlightenment isn't about giant leaps. It's about small, consistent steps, taken over and over, no matter how tough it gets. Here's a quick story that might resonate. There's this Buddhist parable about a drop of water wearing down a rock. Sounds impossible, right? But over time, drop by drop, that water shapes the stone. It's not about force, it's about consistency. Perseverance is like that. Even the smallest actions, repeated consistently, can create massive change. And let's get real. Perseverance isn't always pretty. Some days you're going to feel stuck. Other days, you'll question whether it's even worth it. But here's the thing, progress isn't linear. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and yeah, sometimes it feels like you're moving backward. But as long as you keep going, you're still moving. So, what's the takeaway? When things get hard, and they will, don't focus on how far you still have to go. Focus on the next step, just one more. And when that's done, take another, because the truth is, perseverance isn't about doing everything at once. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. Let me leave you with this. The only way to fail is to quit. As long as you're trying, as long as you're moving, even if it's slow, you're winning. Keep pushing forward. Because one day, you're going to look back and realize that every struggle, every tough moment was worth it. And trust me, future you, they're going to thank you for not giving up. All right, let me ask you something kind of deep. When was the last time you really sat with yourself? No phone, no distractions, just you. It's a little uncomfortable, right? But here's the thing, reconnecting with your true self is one of the most powerful things you can do. And honestly, it might be the missing piece in your life right now. In today's world, it's way too easy to lose yourself. Notifications popping off 24/7, endless scrolling, comparing your life to everyone else's highlight reel. It's like our minds are stuck in this constant loop of noise. But here's what most people don't realize. All that noise, it's pulling you further and further away from who you really are. And neuroscience backs this up. When you're always multitasking or glued to your screen, your brain's default mode network, the part that activates when you're resting or reflecting, barely gets a chance to work. This network is key for self-awareness and creativity. So, when you give yourself a moment of quiet, that's when your mind can finally breathe and connect with what really matters. Buddhism teaches this beautifully. There's a concept called mindfulness, which is all about being fully present in the moment, not lost in the past, not worrying about the future. It's about stripping away all the layers of distraction and reconnecting with your essence. Buddhists believe that when you silence the chaos around you, your true self naturally rises to the surface. So, how do you do this in real life? Start small. Just take 5 minutes to sit in silence every day. No phone, no music, no agenda, just you. Breathe. Let your thoughts come and go without judgment. This might sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It's like giving your brain a much-needed reset. Here's a quick analogy. Imagine your mind is a muddy glass of water. Every distraction, every worry, every little stress adds to the murkiness. But when you let the glass sit still, the mud settles and the water becomes clear. That's what reconnecting with yourself feels like. And here's the cool part. The more you do this, the more you start to hear yourself again. Your true desires, your intuition, your values, they all start to shine through. You'll notice you're less influenced by external noise and more aligned with what feels right for you. Let me leave you with a simple practice to try. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I do today that felt authentically me? It could be something small, like a choice you made, or a moment where you felt at peace. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to start noticing and reconnecting with the real you. Because here's the truth. Everything you're looking for, peace, clarity, purpose, it's already within you. You just need to quiet the world long enough to hear it. And honestly, the best version of you is waiting. All you have to do is come home to yourself. Let me ask you this. How much of your energy is tied up in things you can't control? Think about it for a second. Maybe it's a mistake you made years ago, or someone who hurt you, or even worrying about what people think of you. Holding on to these things, it's like carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. It weighs you down, and honestly, you don't even need it. Here's where both Buddhism and neuroscience can help us out. In Buddhism, there's this beautiful teaching about letting go. It's not about giving up or pretending you don't care. It's about releasing your grip on the things that cause suffering. They have a word for this, upadana, which means clinging or attachment. The more you cling to something, whether it's a memory, a desire, or even your ego, the more it controls you. Now let's bring in some science. Your brain is wired to protect you. It wants to keep you safe, so it holds on to emotional pain as a kind of lesson. But sometimes your brain overdoes it. Instead of letting a bad experience go, it replays it on loop. That's your brain's default mode network again, dragging you back to the past. But here's the thing. Just like your brain learned to hold on to something, it can also learn to release it. Letting go isn't just some abstract idea, it's an actual skill you can practice. Think of it like this. When you release something, you're not losing it. You're freeing yourself from its grip. It's like untying a knot that's been keeping you stuck. Here's a simple practice to try. Close your eyes for a second. Okay, maybe after you finish reading this. Picture something that's been weighing on you, a regret, a grudge, anything. Now imagine holding it in your hands. Feel its weight. And then, slowly, imagine yourself setting it down, not throwing it, not smashing it, just gently letting it go. Breathe. Feel the space you've just created. In Buddhism, they often talk about impermanence, how everything in life is constantly changing. That moment you're stuck on, it's already gone. The pain you felt, it doesn't define you. And the future you're worried about, it hasn't even happened yet. Letting go is about stepping into the now and realizing you have the power to stop carrying what no longer serves you. Neuroscience has your back here too. Studies show that practices like mindfulness and meditation can help rewire your brain to process emotions differently. When you let go of the past, your brain becomes more adaptable and open to new experiences. It's like giving yourself a second chance to grow. So here's a question for you. What's one thing you're ready to let go of today? Start small. Maybe it's forgiving yourself for a mistake or deciding not to check that one social media account that always gets under your skin. Whatever it is, remind yourself that letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over pain. Because the truth is, the lighter your backpack, the easier it is to move forward. And trust me, there's so much ahead of you. You don't want to miss it by looking back. Let it go and watch how free you feel. Let me ask you this. When you wake up in the morning, do you feel like your day has meaning? Or does it sometimes feel like you're just going through the motions? Be honest, because if you're feeling a little stuck, a little unmotivated, chances are your actions and your purpose aren't quite lining up. Here's the thing, every single one of us has a deeper purpose. Call it your why, your mission, or even your dharma. That's what Buddhists call it. It's that thing that makes you feel alive, like you're contributing something meaningful to the world. But here's the catch. If what you do every day isn't aligned with that deeper purpose, it's easy to feel lost, drained, or even frustrated. Now, neuroscience has something fascinating to say about this. When your actions are in sync with what you value, your brain releases feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. It's like a natural reward system that kicks in and makes you want to keep going. But when you're living out of alignment, chasing goals that don't really matter to you, your brain feels it. That's when burnout, stress, and even anxiety start creeping in. In Buddhism, there's this concept called right livelihood. It's one of the steps in the Noble Eightfold Path. It's all about ensuring that how you live and work reflects your values and doesn't cause harm to yourself or others. Buddhists believe that when your actions are rooted in compassion and authenticity, you create harmony, not just in your own life, but in the world around you. So how do you start aligning your actions with your purpose? First, you've got to figure out what your purpose is. And don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't have to be some grand, world-changing mission. Maybe your purpose is as simple as creating a loving home for your family, inspiring others with your creativity, or helping people in small but meaningful ways. Whatever it is, your purpose is yours. Once you've got that clarity, the next step is to ask yourself this one question every day. Does this action bring me closer to my purpose or take me further away? It's a simple filter, but it's powerful. It helps you cut through distractions and focus on what really matters. Here's a quick analogy to make it stick. Imagine you're on a road trip and your purpose is the destination. Every choice you make, what road to take, when to stop for gas, either brings you closer or leads you off track. And guess what? It's okay to make a wrong turn now and then. What matters is recognizing it and getting back on the right path. And listen, alignment doesn't mean perfection. Some days you'll feel totally in sync. Other days, you'll stumble, and that's okay. What's important is that you keep adjusting, keep reflecting, and keep moving with intention. So, here's your challenge. Take a few minutes tonight to reflect. Write down one action you can take tomorrow that aligns with your purpose. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you've been meaning to help, or carving out time for a passion project. Whatever it is, do it with your whole heart, because when your actions align with your purpose, that's when life starts to feel not just good, but right. And honestly, isn't that the kind of life you deserve? Maybe it's letting go of something that's been weighing you down, celebrating a small win, or taking 5 quiet minutes to reconnect with yourself. Whatever it is, start today. Small steps may not feel like much in the moment, but over time, they can transform your entire life. And look, if this video resonated with you, there's a good chance it'll resonate with someone else too. So do me a favor, share it. Send it to a friend, a family member, or even someone who's been on your mind lately. You never know whose day or life you might be helping to change. And let me leave you with this. Every single day is a chance to rewrite your story. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It's already here. You've got everything you need to take that first step. Thanks for watching, and remember, the journey is yours to create. See you in the next one.